from the New York Mets, Jeff McNeil and J.D. Davis. So thanks so much for joining us, guys. And either one of you can take this first, but are you about climbing the walls right now, wanting to get back to baseball?
Yeah, ready to get going. I'm still in Port St. Lucie right now, so I haven't left. So I'm ready to get going again. Want to get back out there and, hopefully soon.
And JD, what about you? How are you handling this?
Howie, I'm getting sick and tired of working out or trying to stay ready or be ready to stay ready. So I'm itching to get out there, but first and foremost, we just have to make sure everybody is safe. And my heart goes out to all the people on the front lines. It really hits home because my mom and dad are working in the UC Davis system over here in Northern California. So I know what's going on. And to those people that are on the front lines, I'm praying for all you guys and hope for health and success.
Well, we echo that, JD. And one little, piece of serendipity during all of this is that, here you are coming to us from Northern California, and Jeff is in Southeast Florida as I am, and yet we're able to stay connected with the fans through this technology, which really didn't exist all that long ago. And I know that it's been especially timely as far as Jeff is concerned, because he was involved in this MLB The Show tournament, almost pulled the whole thing off. How disappointed were you that you didn't finish the job, Jeff?
A little frustrated. Blake Snell is such a good player. He ended up winning the whole thing, so at least I lost to the champion. But it was a lot of fun. Got to interact with all the fans on Twitch and everything. So that's what I've been doing, kind of to stay interactive with the fans. But it was a lot of fun. Blake Snell's a really good player, and would love to do it again sometime.
Now, this Twitch thing is pretty cool, too, because the fans can watch you play, right?
Yep. So I got my Twitch channel. I'm on just about every day. At some point I'll get on there. And basically, I'm just playing MLB The Show. I got it right here. I'm playing it earlier. It's still on. Basically just playing some baseball. Fans are asking questions, and I just try to interact with them through that.
I think a lot of us have been doing that, one way or another, if not playing the show or on a Twitch. It's just, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or whatever, we're able to stay connected now in ways that we weren't before. So, JD, for you, 3,000 miles away from where the bulk of the Mets fan base is, how gratifying is that to know that you can kind of keep up with what's going on here in the East? On a personal level.
Right? No, it's been, it's been overwhelming a little bit, hearing stories, obviously, but no, I've been watching Squirrel play on Twitch. It's been pretty funny to watch. I get, way to represent. I love walk-off home run.
Walk-off homer by J.D. Davis.
Right. No way to represent right there. No, it's awesome way. It's an awesome way to, keep it with the fans and everything, keep it, live. I know fans are itching to have baseball, so it's a great way to reach out to them and interact with them.
See, my generation played Stratomatic, and that's the way we stayed busy, and now you guys are able to do it in a completely different way, keeping the fans engaged. But JD, I got to ask you this, because we did one of these recently with Pete Alonso, and we were going back and forth about some of the various guys on the roster, and all good things, by the way, he said. But anyhow, he said to me point blank, he said, "Quick, who's the most competitive guy on the ball club?" And believe it or not, my first reaction was to say Jake, just because of the bulldog that he is on the mound. And Pete starts laughing. He says, "Come on, it's Squirrel." Those were his words. It's Squirrel. Do you go along with that? Is it Jeff McNeil by a wide margin?
Absolutely. It is Squirrel, and we love them for that, man. I know he gets a lot of flack for, not only us on the team, but outside sources. But you know what? That's the player he is. He's always been like that since we've played against each other at Long Beach. It just drives him. He's fiery, and you know what? I would rather have a teammate that actually cares, just winning or getting, executing whatever he needs to do on a daily basis. And you know what? He's a happy squirrel when he has a great game, and then he's pissed off squirrel. But you know what? We love the happy squirrel because that more times than not, the happy squirrel's out.
And Jeff, presumably a happy squirrel down here, able to play golf in Florida. But the bond, I guess, between you and JD, did that start somehow back in college?
No, I just remember, playing against him. So usually, when you play against guys in college, you know them. That's when we traded for JD. I kind of already knew him. I knew he ended up hitting a 3-run home run against us in college to win the Big West Championship. So that's what I remember from him. He hit basically a game-winning 3-run homer to win the league. So didn't really like him, but after playing with him, he's a good dude, and good friendship now. So
people don't forget, Howie.
I understand. Now let me ask you something, because this came up last week. We were talking about golf, and Alonso said that Jeff is always trying to get him to play with him, meaning on the golf course, and he wants to play him for $100 a hole. And Pete said, "Why don't I just write you a check for $1,800? We don't even have to go out and play." Would you play with McNeil? And how many strokes would you need to get?
I would not even go to the driving range with Squirrel. I would not even go there. But you know what? The stories that have come back into the clubhouse of how good he is, I'm not even itching to go back out there. And you always ask me, like, every 3 to 5 days, "Hey, you want to go play golf?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm good. I'll go to Pop Stroke and maybe work on my short game or something like that."
He's looking for pigeons, isn't he?
Yeah.
What if you guys played each other in MLB The Show? As objective as you could be about this, who's going to win?
Me.
Probably Squirrel. I haven't been on video games in a while, and I need to get back on there. But you know what? I would go with Squirrel.
Yeah, I've been playing way too much. If we're playing Call of Duty or any like shooting game, then that's probably JD. That's not my. I've been playing Call of Duty with Nemo and Pete a little bit, and I'm terrible. They basically, I just run around with them. They pick me up.
As competitive as you are, when you say you're terrible, how terrible or how good is your terrible?
Oh, I'm pretty terrible. Like those guys on Call of Duty, they're so good. So, yeah, I mean, I'm competitive. I want to win, but I mean, I know I'm not good at that game, so it's tough.
Well, all right. What other ways are you, both of you, able to keep busy and, as close to, quote, game shape as possible when you're not playing video games or doing leisurely activities?
Go ahead, Squirrel. Go ahead, Squirrel.
Okay. So I've been working out. Brandon Nemo lives a few houses down, so I've been, going over there and working out there. He's got a little gym, and so I've been able to, try to stay in shape that way. Tomas Nito, he's got he lives houses down the other way. He's got a little tee and a net, so we can hit balls off the tee. So. We're doing everything we can right now just to, do that baseball activity till the complex opens up, which hopefully soon, stuff's starting to open back up in Florida. So hopefully, we can get back to the complex soon and, really get back into the baseball shape we need to be in.
We hope. And of course, the question also becomes, JD, how hard, and this question comes from Michael, and again, we want to remind you to use the Q&A button on your screen in order to get your questions in. We want to start going to some of our questions from our audience, and Michael wants to know, how hard will it be to get your timing down? What with all of the stops and starts and changes, how difficult is it to get the kind of timing that you need to get through a season?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it varies. I think as I was younger, going up or getting my major league spring training, I used to always, take as many swings as possible. Getting up at, be in the cage at 6 a.m., getting them, 50 to 100 swings, and then, we got BP and you got post BP game, but. For me, at least, I've been pretty smart about it. I try to take more live ABs, and I think that's what we've been stressing about for as long as like spring training, because we've been trying to minimize spring training and trying for this year or this last spring training. We only had, I think, Squirrel, probably like 5 or 6 practices, and then we had our first game. So, all
right, now we might have lost JD because I'm not hearing him.
Yeah.
Just went blank. Okay, he'll have to reconnect. So, Jeff, while I have you here, what about staying connected with some of the rest of the guys within the Mets clubhouse? Have you been reaching out, making phone calls, or doing Zooms with them? Have you been able to stay, personally in touch via video as well as audio with some of the guys?
Yeah, I'm around Brandon Nemo, Tomas Nito, and then Michael Walker. They're still in St. Lucie, so I see them, quite a bit, doing baseball activity with them and stuff. And then, everyone else, I play video games with Pete. So, we're always talking. J.D. was around for a while in St. Lucie till we went back to California. Conforto was still around. So, Jake Marisnik's on Twitch. So, I'll go into his channel, talk to him there. So, it's a lot of, interacting through, social media kind of stuff, Twitch. We've been having Zoom meetings. We've had a few, just team Zoom meetings just to kind of, see each other's faces and, kind of catch up with each other. So, the team's doing a good job, staying connected.
It's interesting you mentioned a couple of the new players too, Jake Marisnik for one, Michael Wacha another, and I know that they're nearby physically, but it also seems that even they, from what I saw during the few weeks of spring training, just seem to fit the dynamic of this clubhouse so easily. And I don't know what it is. And I'm telling you, I've been around this ball club professionally, just as a broadcaster, since 1987. The chemistry and camaraderie that you guys had last year, with a lot of you who came through the Met system, and J.D. of course virtually came up to the big leagues and established himself as a Met, even though he had a cup of coffee or two with Houston. But I know that the fans love to latch on to homegrown guys. But apart from that angle, what enabled what I think was a pretty unique and terrific chemistry that your group had last year?
Yeah, we all get along really well. The new guys we brought in this year were, Jake, Michael Wacha, Rick Porcello. Everyone welcomed them. Everyone gets along. I mean, we should have a bunch of good guys on our team. Everyone gets along. We have a good mix of, young guys to veterans, and the veterans do a really good job of, kind of bringing us in, welcoming us, and taking care of us. So it's nice. And then all the young guys, we all play together. So we have real good chemistry. Like I think I played with Pete, Dom, Conforto, Nemo. I mean, we've all played in the minor leagues together. So just to be up in the big leagues, and you're playing for one goal. So it kind of brings everyone together, and it's just a good group of guys.
Okay, I believe we have J.D. back on with us now. And J.D., Don Balducci has a question for you. It's, what is your favorite position to play, and which do you think is your best?
I think I love playing third base. I think that's just the most natural, just because I played most games, in the minor leagues. And but you know what? I'm always open to anything. I played a little bit of right in college. I just played pretty much my first year in left field this last year. So, but I'm getting way more comfortable working on that. So right now, probably prefer left field, just because of the reps that I'm getting right now to stay ready. So.
Well, obviously, there's a negotiation ongoing about the system of which will be utilized when you guys hopefully get back to play sooner than later. And I know one of the things that they're talking about, and I realize you can't comment on the specifics of the negotiations, we know that, but one thing that apparently has a pretty good chance, if not as guaranteed, to be a part of at least this season, is the designated hitter in the National League. Is that something you would embrace?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would help out our lineup, tremendously, just to have that extra bat. If it's me, if it's Damo, if it's Cespedes, if it's Cano, if it's Conforto, if he needs a day off, or it's just anybody, or even Buffalo, whoever just needs a day off. I think that would be huge, just to keep them in the lineup. And just to rest their legs, and that way nobody can really take a day off in a way of hitting. Their timing isn't messed up, or if we had that system, I don't know what the system was last year, if we had 2 days on, 2 days off with our catchers or something like that. But I think it's huge for us, and it makes our lineup a little more deadlier.
And thanks to Jay Mazak for that question. Jeff, I mean, because you play defensively in so many different positions. First of all, how many different gloves, Jeff, do you have, considering you could play second, third, left field, right field?
Yeah.
How many different gloves do you use?
Yeah, so I usually carry on the road with me 3. I have Chili Davis's glove that I use at third base. I used that last year. I just loved how it broke in, so I started using that. So
Oh, wait a minute. That wasn't because Chili Davis hasn't played in the big leagues in over 20 years.
Yeah, this is probably from. I mean, it's an older glove, but it's probably 5-6 years old. So it's been broken in when he was coaching.
Right.
So yeah, I started using it. Loved it over there. So I've been using that. While I'm breaking my other third base glove, I have my outfield glove, and then a second base glove, and then at the same time I'm trying to break in my next year's gloves. So I have like basically a backup at each that I'm trying to break in. I own a first base glove just in case
Why not?
stuff goes crazy. I own one. It's in the locker, but I enjoy playing both positions. It's what I really like to do. So I have tons of gloves, but ready to move wherever they need me.
And there could be a question. I'll kind of answer it, or at least direct it back to you preemptively, in case there's a suspicion. Well, second base, third base, what's the difference? Why would an infielder need a different size glove? Is your second base glove smaller?
Yeah. So my second base glove is smaller. When I was in the minor leagues, I used, I had the same glove. I couldn't really have a bunch of gloves. I didn't have the luxury of, having 4 gloves. So I used the same, but once I got to the big leagues, I started using a bigger glove over third base. Basically at third base, balls are hit a lot harder. So basically, I need a bigger glove just to field it. A little bit more surface area. And then once you field it, usually you just hit so hard, so you're not really worried about the transfer, from glove to hand. At second base, you're worried more about the double play turn, so a smaller glove, easier to transfer. At third base, it's field the ball, throw it first. So you can use a little bigger glove.
Okay, now we've got a question here from John Gennardo. I hope I pronounced that properly. I believe it is John. How would it feel to play a shortened season? If you play 80, 82 games, and would it be different for you? Of course it will be different, but how would it feel different without fans, if that's the way we have to get started?
Yeah, it'd be, real different. We love the, playing in front of the Citi Field crowd and, all the Mets fans. It's fun. It's loud most of the time. So it's going to be real different. It's going to be playing like a short season, like playing in a short season minor league team, basically. We don't have a lot of fans. There's usually like 200 or 300 people there. It's quiet. You play 82 games, so it's going to be kind of like that. So I know a lot of us are kind of who went through the minor leagues and spent a lot of time there. We're used to playing in front of small crowds. So we have our teammates there to help bring the energy, and it should be no problem for us. I know a lot of us will be fresh too. With an 82 game season or something like that. Shortened season, we'll be fresh. For the whole season instead of I was breaking down a little bit at the end of last year, just losing weight and stuff. So, don't really have to worry about, something like that happening this year.
Which will be interesting because it'll be a sprint. If it is an 82 game schedule, that's every game just takes on so much more perceived importance anyway, because you're only playing half as many. But JD, Jeff talked briefly about the fact that there might not be fans in the ballpark. And if you've seen some of the games from Korea, they've been using kind of piped in fans. They've put images up on the board and maybe some crowd noise piped in. Would that help? Would that make a difference? Would that enhance your performance at all?
Howie, it would be totally a different feel. I don't even know how that would feel. I feel like it'd be more like just a scrimmage or like a backfield spring training game. I would say, just like what Jeff said, the intensity of the games would be up just because it's 80, 82 games, and every game, every game is going to have even more weight for it. It was just basically just the second half of our season just last year. But I think it's going to be different. It's not the same with fans. It's never going to be the same with fans. You can obviously feel the energy and, anything on the big screen is not going to be equivalent to what the fans in the stands. So
Now I don't mean this to sound facetious. I'm not trying to take a shot at the Marlins here, but let's face it. Most times we go into Miami to play the Marlins, and there's virtually nobody there. So you've got some limited experience playing at least before a very, very small crowd. Does that make a difference? Is it a completely different mindset and process of energizing yourself for a game when you're not getting any help from the fans?
Yeah, it's definitely you gotta bring the energy as a team. I think when we go to Miami, it's not that the Miami is not saying anything about their team, but it's just when you go into Miami and you see how many fans are out there, and it's not the same energy as if you were to go to, Philly or even Citi Field or even the Nationals, like on a weekend night where they're almost sold out. But I think it's a different mindset that we have to be prepared to come in to bring our own energy as a team. We're not going to be banging on buckets or anything like women's softball or anything like that, but for sure, but we gotta bring just a little bit more focus on the mindset towards every game.
Okay, now again, we've got some questions that are coming in via the Q&A, and that's how to do it. Just go to the Q&A button on your screen. This one comes from Greg Morrison. For either or both of you, have you been watching The Last Dance what else have you been watching during this time off?
I have not been watching that. I've been watching a lot of TV. Been watching the Korean Baseball League a little bit, late at night. For Netflix shows, I've been on Ozark. So we're on the third season of Ozark. Me and my wife watched both the first two, so now we're on season 3. So getting through that, we started Outer Banks. She watched Tiger King. I still haven't seen Tiger King or whatever that is.
I haven't either.
I haven't seen that, so I don't know what's going on. I know it's wild, and so maybe I'll get to that. Maybe I'll get to that soon.
This is also from Greg. It's actually part of the same question, and present company included. You can support either or the other, but which fellow Mets player would be the most interesting to do a behind-the-scenes documentary like The Last Dance about?
I don't even know what The Last Dance is.
Well, it's about Michael Jordan and the Chicago
Bulls.
Okay.
You
guys are too
young.
young.
I'm like,
who are you? Who are you, Jeff? Who are you? You know what?
I haven't seen it.
I'll take over, Howie.
You can take over.
This is unbelievable right now.
I know. Okay, hold on. Time out. I know about the Jordan documentary. I haven't seen them. I didn't know it was called The Last Dance. I know the Jordan documentaries. I'm aware. I just didn't know it was called The Last Dance.
I would say, if I were to do a documentary, just for the sake of it, I would do Pete.
Anybody in your clubhouse, any teammate.
I would do Pete. Pete last year. Just the amount and the side little gigs that he had before the games. And then just the amount of pressure, obviously mounting to after every home run, getting closer to 50, and then obviously 52 and 53. But that guy, I remember he would show up early just to try to get some extra scouting report because he knew that he was being pulled left and right, to talk to media or, talk to, someone, from ESPN coming in and wanting to talk to him. And I'm not saying anything that was bad, but it's incredibly, I can't imagine being in his shoes, being the stress of, the bar set so high for him every single night. And, especially being in New York. So that'd be an awesome documentary just to see behind the scenes of what he was going through. I think that would have been pretty cool.
Jeff, you have the same answer or somebody else in mind?
Yeah, I'd say Peter. J.D. basically said it all. He's working extremely hard. He's, always in there watching video early and, and wants to know exactly what the pitcher has. And so he's always doing his homework. Just the pressure he had, playing in New York for his first year. He had a lot of expectations and, came through, had a great year, tremendous year. So I think, he'd be fun to, kind of follow around.
What was it like for you guys to be part of that chase? There must have been times when he felt as though, maybe the walls were closing in a little bit. It wasn't exactly, Roger Maris going after Babe Ruth in 1961, but in the context of a rookie, it very much was. And as close as a lot of you guys are, what was that support system like from you, from J.D., from any of your other teammates for Pete?
I think, Howie, we just tried to stay original with him. I know there was such the atmosphere around him was he was being put on a pedestal and he earned every bit of it. But when we were together, we just tried to act normal, tried to be more down to earth to him. So that way he can, just be himself, I know he wants that separation, just like any baseball player and the amount of pressure that he was on. So we didn't really talk much about like performances or anything like that. Talk about, situations of the games or anything like that, or just talk about life with him. That way he can kind of decompress after every game and just, kind of be himself. So yeah.
And what kind of stuff do you guys talk to each other about? If you're out for lunch on the road, it's not a loaded question, but when you're having lunch, 12 o'clock, whatever, the day of a game on the road, are you talking baseball at all, or just the kind of stuff that any other mid-20-year-old guys would be talking about having lunch?
Pretty much everything. Rate the food. Make fun of each other. We love making fun of each other.
That's where I'm going.
They like making fun of me.
Probably number one. Probably number one. But there's just so many stories behind what goes on in the clubhouse and what in the dugout. So we just always bring up, stories or just laugh. It's the spur of the moment, really, honestly. And then we just talk about, what's around the area, good restaurants, or just any experience that we had. I mean, it's never a dull moment with this group.
Which I think the fans kind of respond well to. Also, the fact that they've established this sort of bond, and we don't know what this new order is going to be like whenever we do get back to baseball. But you guys also spent a lot of time at various charity events last year and reaching out with fans, different events and such. Is that something that made you feel a little bit more like a New Yorker? Never mind a major leaguer, never mind as a Met, but did you feel more like a New Yorker because you were involved in so many different avenues of actually getting out and meeting them as opposed to just playing for them?
Yeah. I mean, getting into, to hang out with the New Yorkers is awesome. The Mets do a great job, with a bunch of, charity events, and a lot of the guys I know really like to participate. And, I got to go to Steven Matz's, big event last year. You got to hang out at the bowling event. So, got to meet a lot of them there. And, it's just nice, meeting the fans, meeting, kind of hanging out with the true New Yorkers, and, best fans in the world, great support. So, we enjoy getting out a lot.
One of the little events, if you will, was a pregame thing last year where the opportunity arose to adopt a puppy, which you did, and a home run that you hit sealed that deal with Mrs. McNeil. How did puppy power come about?
Yeah, so went out to the field. They had 4 puppies out there, and I've been wanting a dog since like college, and that's where I met my wife, and I've been telling her, let's get a puppy, and she's like, no, it's not the right time. It's not the right time. And went out there and saw this little fluff ball out there, and I picked her up, loved her. I really wanted to get her, so I was talking to her, talking to my wife on the field, holding the puppy, like, can we get her? And she goes, no, we'll see. And the media kind of caught on to that, ended up hitting a home run that night, and media after the game, did you get the puppy? And I'm like, if my wife wants more home runs, I think we need to adopt the puppy. So we ended up getting the puppy, and I think I ended up hitting like 15 or something home runs after that. So the puppy power kind of stuck around.
JD, you tell me if I'm right about this, but when he got back to the dugout after hitting the home run that night, did he not say, I'm getting a puppy, boys, I'm getting a puppy?
So there's a funny story. I always say there's little stories behind the scenes, Howie. So there's actually, he held the puppy, and then that night he had a home run, and so we're like, oh man, you got to get it. So he ended up going the first, I think it was a game or 2 games, I can't remember, but he went over.
Oh.
He went over. So
yeah, I think I did.
So
it was when I got the puppy. I think when I got the puppy, I went over.
So that just put lighter fluid on the fire right there. And I was like, dude, I don't know if you should have got that puppy. Maybe you should name that puppy Ofer or Oaf or something like that. And then finally he had a home run in Miami. And then obviously the monkey fell off the back. And I was like, all right, you could keep the dog. But there's definitely a different Jeff the first 2 games he got Willow. So it was hilarious.
Well, they also called it a little fluff ball a minute ago, but I saw a picture on social media not too long ago. That's not such a little fluff ball anymore, is it?
There she is, Howie.
Let's see. Come on.
She's definitely gotten bigger, man. She's a sweetheart.
Where'd he go?
Say hi, Willow. Oh no, we're on a little chair, so she's like, I'm out.
Right.
Little fluff ball.
She's a monster.
That's now we know how you're getting your weight training in before the season
Yeah,
starts.
just lift her up.
Really?
Big now.
How much does she weigh now?
She's like 65 pounds, maybe 70 pounds.
And
I think
the day that you met her and picked her up for the first time,
she was like
what?
6,
Oh.
maybe 7, 8 pounds. Like she was tiny.
She's eating well.
Yeah. No, she's doing well.
All right, here's some more questions. This one is from Ali Ditkowicz. Jeff, have you been, speaking of dogs of a different type, continuing your hot dog consumption during quarantine to mirror your in-season ritual?
I actually haven't had a hot dog in no, I lied. I have had a hot dog. I try to stay off them. I've been eating pretty well. I got my wife here, usually dinner consists of, chicken, fish, or steak, with some rice and broccoli. It's kind of my go-to, but if I order out, I'll order some Five Guys or something, get a burger and a dog, and good way to keep the weight on.
Well, there's another way too, as we know, JD, and that's with cookies. And you guys are part of the cookie club, which I know Steve Gelbs has been having so much fun with because he gets to eat the leftovers, I guess. But how has that all helped galvanize you guys, bonding around cookies with Dom Smith right in the middle of it?
Yeah, Howie, it's hard for us a lot of fans don't really get, or maybe some people actually get, but our sleep schedule is so messed up. We wake up at 10, 11 in the morning, and then we probably stay up till 1, 2 o'clock. So we got plenty of time after the game, to finally wind down. A lot of guys like myself, we drink coffee before the game just to get us a little bit more amped up. So we got to wait for the coffee to get down. So it's not really, a window, 1, 2, 3 hours just to calm down and be ourselves, be human beings, talk about life, talk about, girlfriends, wives, or just life, and then sometimes, obviously we're in the East Coast, we're on the Nationals, playing the Phillies or Marlins, we get the chance to catch some West Coast games, a lot. Like last year, we faced the NL West, so we obviously had to play against, San Diego, Dodgers, Colorado. So we got to see some of them, or at least some of their pitchers, while we were just mellowing out, being guys. And but that's been a huge thing for us, just to able to bond and just get to know each other a little bit more.
Which of the insomnia cookies are the best?
Snickerdoodle.
I'll go the deluxe, the peanut butter cup. That's my favorite.
You like the big ones.
Yep.
Well, you guys.
I go Snickerdoodle. I got to do the Snickerdoodle. Usually I'll get 2 Snickerdoodles and 2 of the triple chocolate, and I get 2 milks. So
all right.
Usually full after.
You guys were not with the Mets yet at this time, but back in 2015, when the Mets were on their way to winning the National League pennant, we got to Philadelphia for a game in late August to begin a series. And David Wright was going to make his comeback. He'd been out just about 4 months because of the neck problem, which resulted in surgery. And he was so excited and pumped to get back that when we got, I don't even remember what city we came in from, but we were at the Westin Hotel in Philadelphia, where we always are. And we got up to the lobby, and there was David in full uniform, waiting with boxes of insomnia cookies. Has that tale become legendary around the Mets? And is that something you'd heard about before I just brought it up?
That was the first I've heard of it.
Really?
Yeah, I knew they used to do like insomnia cookies. That's why, we used to show up, my first year in the big leagues, and then even last year, we'd show up to Philly, and there'd be insomnia cookies there. And that's kind of where it started. We loved the insomnia cookies, and every city we went to, we were looking it up. Does this place have one? That they did, we'd be ordering it. I think it started in Milwaukee, maybe. I don't remember.
It started somewhere around there.
Yeah, Milwaukee had one, and we had 6 or 7 guys in there. We'll have some old other teammates who are coming in. Frazier's always around, so
He always knew when Todd was around, didn't he?
Oh, Todd needed his cookies. He'd be like, yeah, we're ordering cookies. Order me 6. He'd always order like 6 or something too, and he'd eat them all week.
No, you missed some kind of sight, checking into a hotel at about 2:00 in the morning, and there's David in full uniform with a box of cookies stacked
That's
this
awesome.
high.
Yeah.
Box stacked this high. Hey, here's another question. This one's from Michael Newman, and we haven't touched on this yet, and this is for both of you. We'll start with JD. Your thoughts on new manager Luis Rojas and how things were falling into place during the few weeks that you had during spring training before we shut down?
Yeah, Louis been awesome. He was one of the main guys that I worked with last year, obviously out in the outfield. We got really super close with each other, just talking about the little stuff, situational stuff. So I love Louis. He's been a great mentor out there. But then when obviously the circumstances with Beltran and then being hired was the next manager, we were all pumped for him. I think everybody in the clubhouse was rooting for him. He's an intelligent guy, great guy, former player. So, the stars and the dots line up, and you know what? He's young. He can interact with the younger guys really well, as long as the older guys is too. So, you know what? We love Louis, and we can't wait to get this thing rolling. It's just, this. It's too bad, for being him as a first manager and going through this, I can't imagine like the stress or just, it's something way different than what he experienced. So, but yeah, we're just staying in touch with him, and he's got the reins right now, and he's been pretty organized, pretty on top of stuff, and he's communicating with us left and right.
And he managed in the Mets organization, Jeff, for 8 years. So many of you guys played for him. Just how much quicker will that accelerate his development as a major league manager, having players who are familiar with him and know about his nuances and just have a familiarity with him that you might not with somebody coming in from the outside?
I think it's huge. He's managed just about everyone in the locker room who's, gone through the Mets system. And then also, guys who weren't in the Mets system, he was one of our coaches last year. So guys are really familiar with him, and we all love playing for him. We all enjoy him. He's, not that kind of guy who's gonna, kind of pump you up. He's not that. He's a quiet guy, which, I think is going to be good for us. He's going to let us just go out there and play, and he's also, he understands all the players. He understands who Pete is as a player. He understands who I am as a player. He understands, because he's watched us play for so long. He's been my manager. He was my manager in low A, high A, and double A. So, parts of 3-4 years, he was my manager. He understands me extremely well. He understands when I need a day off. He knows where, I like to hit. He understands, what I'm trying to do at the plate. And, when I get frustrated, he's good with, dealing with that, kind of talking me down a little bit. And, so I think he's going to do a great job. I know the fans are going to really like him and, like how he manages the game.
Well, just listening to all of those stories you've told based on the fact that you've played for him along the way in the Mets farm system, your knowledge of him as a manager as well as a person, just seems intimate to the point where there's almost no adjustment. Is this going to be as seamless a transition for a manager to a big league job as you could expect, given the number of guys who know him that well?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, just managing another team. It's going to be just like him, managing the double A team. There's a lot of us played for him when we were in double A. Me and Pete were both there. And, guys, Rosario's played for him for a long time. So, we all respect him, and, he respects us. He respects our input. He's a guy who you can go to, and, kind of bounce ideas off him. It's not an outside guy coming in who, we don't know that well, who, we might not be able to talk to and, bounce some ideas, our thoughts off him. We can approach him. He's very approachable. He's like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And he's like, yeah, I'm open to that. Let's try it. Let's do some stuff. And, I think that's why he's going to, do a good job for us.
All right, we've got questions from Tom Marks, one for each of you. This one's for Jeff. You chased the batting title last year. What's your number one improvement that you hope to have made this offseason by the time you get back?
I just want to do exactly what I did last year. I was happy with my production. I know I didn't quite hit to the level I wanted to at the end of the year. You know, my average started to, you know, kind of taper off a little bit, and ended up losing the batting title. So, you know, I want to, you know, be consistent all year. You know, that power surge I had at the year, nothing changed. I didn't change my swing. It didn't change my approach. Just ball started to go over the fence, and you know, just not as many hits were dropping. So, going to go in with the same approach this year. Just hopefully, you know, can do it, you know, throughout the year, and you know, one day win a batting title. That's the goal.
And J.D., Tom's question for you is, you had a true breakout last year. What are you focused on improving? Pete mentioned that he wants a gold glove. Now, is that the kind of thing that you'd like to do too? Have you settled into one position, J.D., and then perhaps improve enough defensively where you can get into that conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Gold Glove is number one for me. It's just something to complete my all around what I've been striving to do. If it's left field, third base, or wherever the team needs me, to settle in on one position and try to be the best. I think it's that's the only bar to set, is try to be the best. And then on top of that, hitting. There are some things that I needed to work on. Obviously, just the fastball's up. I've been working on that. You know, I've been working on smaller drills, like just one-handed stuff. That way I can break down the swing and get more knowledge back, more feedback. And but that's what kind of clicked at the end of the season, which I'm going in and really helping me out during this offseason to get the ball rolling. And this last spring training was great. I know I had the shoulder injury, but you know what? It's fine now. But hitting wise, like I felt good. I felt dangerous at the plate, and just like how I ended the season last year.
So when you look ahead to a season, and this is for both of you as we get ready to close, but as you look ahead to a season that we hope will be played, and you look at the possibility for maybe having to get ready a little more quickly than usual if and when we get the go-ahead, does having had the few weeks of spring training that we had earlier, back in February and March, mean anything once you get back to what would be an aborted or a shorter spring training prior to the resumption of the season? And does anything carry over from that?
For me, it does. You know, I came into spring training a little bit more kind of comfortable this year. I knew I had a spot. I knew I was going to play every day. So I kind of go in this year, you know, and just work on things. You know, I felt really comfortable at the plate. You know, I knew, or I know, like what I was doing at the plate is working. So, you know, I basically have just a bunch of, you know, positive thoughts coming out of spring training, and you know, I thought I played a really good third base. So, you know, that's definitely going to carry over into the next spring training. You know, I'm going in knowing things are working, knowing my body's feeling good, and so I think, yeah, having that last, you know, spring training is going to help me at least. You know, I know maybe for the pitchers, hopefully they're able to keep their, you know, arms in shape. And I know Waka, I mean, he's been around, he's, you know, throwing bullpens all the time. So he's going to be in shape, being ready, and, you know, hopefully he can ramp up pretty quick.
How about you, JD? Will it feel like starting from scratch, or will there still be some residual value to what you did in February and March?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say from scratch, just because we've been at it, or at least I've been at it for a while now. You know, it seems like the off season, it's probably been like the longest off season. I pretty much started in mid-October. So
you didn't take any time off hardly, huh?
Nah, I'm a workaholic. I start itching once I start sitting on the couch. So, but I've been at it. I don't think it's starting from scratch. I think Jeff I can reiterate what Jeff said. Being more comfortable, knowing my body and knowing my routine, and just going about my business and knowing what I have to do and knowing what I have to do every day. You know, checking the boxes, making sure I feel right. It's not about, you know, taking thousands of swings, but it's more about taking quality swings, even if it's only, you know, 20 to 100 swings a day. As long as you are, you know, locked in, focused on every swing or every pitch or just your drill, I think that in itself will get you ready quicker.
Well, this has been terrific. And then just before we say so long, Jeff, just want to go back to your game tag on Twitch is what?
It's just Jeff McNeil. I think you just type in Jeff McNeil up on Twitch, it'll come up. And I'm playing just about, you know, every day. Usually I'll try to post something on Instagram or Twitter, to let people know I'm playing.
Well, You guys are terrific. Thanks so much for joining us. I miss being around you guys. You just created such a fun vibe last year, and I miss it. And I know if I miss it, I can only imagine what it's like for you. But the time that you've taken to check in with us for various things during this period is not only invaluable, it's so appreciated. So stay well, stay safe, and I hope we see you guys real soon.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Howie. We miss you guys, and hopefully we get the ball rolling here soon.
Sounds
Stay safe,
great.
everyone.